Good evening, everyone, to the latest PowerPlayChess YouTube Hangout. Welcome, everyone. We'll wait for a few people to join us. This takes place once a month, and I go through a game usually, and I show you some puzzle positions, and of course you can chip in with your questions. And yeah, well, it's great to see people from all around the world tuning in anyway, so I can see lots of people are joining us now. And of course I've got the chats channel open, so if you want to say hi there and want to throw in your comments, then that'll be absolutely fantastic. So welcome to Ahmed Karameldin for a start, and Partidas Inmortales de Ajedrez. Dear me, I need to improve my Spanish. Hello, this 29. Yeah, excellent. Nice to see you. While we're waiting, greetings from India. Hi, Akib Ghazi. Hi, Abhilash Akula. And we have Why Are Men in My Shoes back again for more. Hi, Michael J. Fitch. Oh, Danny Boy. Yeah. Excellent. Nice to see you all here. Just to let you know that this evening I'll be looking at Fischer against Petrosyan from Bled 1959, which is this remarkable four queens game. It's quite extraordinary. It's fantastically complicated. I mean, Fischer was still very, very young, and it's remarkable that he managed to match the later world champion Petrosyan, actually. But we'll look at that in a second. Monkey Shoulder says, hi, Daniel, I'll be back in a minute for fish and chips. Yeah, he's off for fish and chips. Good man, Monkey Shoulder. Yeah, that's what I need at the moment. Gus W says, love and respect from Palestine, Gaza. Always a big fan. Fantastic. And Why Men in My Shoes, which is, I'm still kind of blown away by that handle. I don't know what it means. It just makes me laugh. It says he enjoyed the Spassky Chirich video today. Excellent. This 29 says, just away from topic to cricket, England will win the ODI against India. Well, that's interesting, because I know they had a bit of a run chase, but I know they set off very, very briskly. Yeah, India to Palestine to Brighton. Maxwell says, is that a Miles Davis t-shirt? It is. There we are. There's the man blowing his trumpet. There's Miles Davis. And it says Miles. If you're a chess player, then, of course, that's a pun, because you can also think of Tony Miles, but the incredible English grandmaster, but it's also Miles Davis. Yeah, I'm a Miles Davis fan. I like Miles Davis. Mr. Banco says, lots of appreciation from Arizona. Peter Hodges asks, did I have any other games published in novels besides Zugzwang? I don't know, actually. I don't think so. Not that I can recall. Anyway, so I'm just reading some of the messages. Daniel Marioni asks, Daniel, for you in the World Championship, Caruana will have to push in the classical games for avoiding the rapid where Carlsen's more strong. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting, the World Championship match with Caruana, but I don't think, with maybe a couple of games to go, or maybe 3 or 4 games to go, he'll be looking to push if it's still very even. But I think from the start, he shouldn't have that on his mind. Okay, let me give you the first position to look at. Something I'm going to start very, very gently. I'm going to show you lots of puzzle positions from Bobby Fischer. There we go. Fischer is the theme of the day. And this is very, very simple. So just give me a moment, and I'm going to switch boards any moment. Here we go. Switching now. In this position, this is a very old game, US Junior Championship 1957. Fischer's opponent played bishop takes pawn. Over to you. What would you play if you had Fischer's position with white? While you're just puzzling over that one, I'll just look at some of your questions. Chess Lord 007 says, hi, Daniel, I have a pint here waiting for you in Dublin. Cheers, John. Well, actually, I'm going to be in Dublin. I'll be in Dublin probably the first couple of weeks of August. So at some point in August, anyway. Some point in August. I don't know when. Yeah, we got a million people have said Rook D8. Well done. Not very difficult. And the king got caught there. There we go. Very, very simple. And I'm back again. There we are. Yeah, that was too easy. Way too easy. So let me give you another one that's maybe just a little bit more difficult. Not too difficult. Yeah, this one's very nice. I don't think it's difficult. But somehow this appeals to me. So just 1 second while I switch boards again. Before I show you this one, do you know what? Anyone that asks a question in capital letters, I don't know whether to ignore them because it seems like they're kind of seeking lots of attention, or whether to kind of respond very quickly because it seems like there might be an emergency. So I'm going to respond because it seems like there's an emergency. Peter Hodges, all in capital letters. It's an emergency. What do you think about playing the tiebreak before the World Championship match? Oh, it wasn't an emergency. It was just a question. Oh, okay. Peter, I'm going to answer your question anyway. I think it's ludicrous because it just doesn't feel very natural to me. I think chess, the top chess matches, like the World Championship match and the Candidates Tournament, I think they should be as transparent as possible so that someone who's a non-chess player or just has a little interest in chess can understand it very, very easily. In a game of football, you don't have the penalty shootout first. It just doesn't feel right. Have it at the end. If it gets to a tiebreak and they have rapid play playoff, fantastic. It worked brilliantly last time with Carlsen against Karyakin. What a climax it was. And there are all kinds of tactics. Peter, I forgive you. Everyone's asking you a question. It's all right. Tim, you didn't miss much. No, you just missed one very, very easy puzzle. And I'm going to give you another easy puzzle now. So just hang on a second while I just share the screen on this one. Here we go. So Fischer is black. This was played in the Mar del Plata tournament in 1959 in Argentina. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah, you can. Good. And black to play. How did Fischer win this from this position? It's very neat. It's very neat. This just appealed to me because I like two bishops very much, and yeah, there's something elegant about the finish actually. Jonas Glazer wants to play bishop e3, and that is indeed a good move. Or not bishop g3, because that's on prise. But bishop e3 is good. He actually did something else. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading through all the questions. Yeah, okay. Well, in fact, Fischer, bishop e3 is a good move. Fischer actually played a4 check. And after this, what did he do next? Bishop e3 will actually come to the same thing. But this is quite nice. Rook. Someone's saying rook 8. No, rook a8 isn't too good. I mean, I can possibly take the pawn on b4, but I suspect I can just do that and hide away. So not that one. Yes, we have Tim and wants to play b3. Yeah, well done to you both. b3 is and Michael Olsen as well. Excellent. b3 is an excellent move. Yeah. So, for example, if I play this was the game continuation. Keep going. This is all good stuff. Yeah, bishop e3 is now a really strong move. Well done, Michael Olsen, and I'm sure others as well. And Amit Bharati and Arsalan Baghdadi, great name. Presumably you're in Iraq, I don't know. And rook f3, this is the game continuation. Keep going. Keep going, guys. You're doing really well. What's the next move? Rook and bishop mate. Yes. Yeah, Samuel C has it rook a8 and bishop mate. Well done. Yeah, as do others. And here the game ended because of this. I rather like the way that Fischer gave up those pawns in order to completely trap White's king. I just thought that was very attractive. Incidentally, if we come back to this position, then bishop e3 is very similar, actually. Although there are some nice variations here. For example, rook. Let's say rook here, check here. Well, it's the same. Now it's the same thing. Yeah. So there we go. Okay, let's just get out of that one. Excellent. Well done, folks. That was very easy. We got there, but I rather like that. I think. Sorry, I'm just closing a few windows down here because I'm suddenly got 7 windows open, and it's not too. It's just a bit messy. Okay, let me give you. Well, before I give you another position, let me just take some of your questions. Samuel C asks, what do you recommend for a 1750 player to focus on in order to improve his tournament play further? Tricky. It's very hard to give a categorical answer without knowing whoever it is in person in question, without knowing details, without looking at games. With some people, they need to brush up their openings. Others know their end games, reasonably well for that level. But I would say the most important thing is to play as much as possible. Actually, play as much as possible and to reflect on your games, because you can look at all kinds of stuff theoretically. You can study openings, you can study end games and middle games, but unless you put it into practice, it really won't go in. Let me see. Michael Olsen asks, could Larsen have been world champion if he'd had seconds to help him? Something he never had. I don't think Larsen was good enough to be world champion. I think he had a brilliant period from in the late 60s and early 70s. But I don't think his game was refined enough to be world champion, actually. Hey, Gabe. Enjoy your lunch. I've just seen your comment. Have a good lunch, Gabe. Glad you like the Spassky game. Yeah, I mean, you say that Larsen didn't have seconds. I mean, maybe you know better than me, but I thought he used seconds sometimes. But I think that wasn't his main problem. I mean, Larsen went his own way. He had a very strong character, very strong personality, and you could see that in the way he played chess. It was quite unique. But I don't think the seconds was his real problem. Arslan Baghdadi asks, do you think in World Championship match players use computer for opening analysis? Well, obviously not at the board, but all professionals analyze the opening with computers now, obviously, yeah. Omkar Chakradeo asks, how seriously should one take rapid chess? I'm not sure. If you like playing rapid chess, then take it seriously. I mean, why not? I don't know. It depends who you are, how strong you are. If you're one of the top players today, then I would say taking rapid, if you're a professional, then taking rapid play seriously is necessary to earn a good living, and for a world champion, absolutely vital. If you enjoy it, then do it. I don't know. Why not? Labertasche, warum sprichst du nicht mal Deutsch? Ich weiß, dass du es sehr gut kannst. Du hast hier auch deutsche Anhänger. Why don't I speak German here? Because I would exclude probably 90% of the people watching the broadcast. Isn't that pretty obvious? So I'm going to stick with English. But on another occasion, I'd be very happy to speak German. Amit Bharati asks, Daniel, did you ever get a chance to meet Fischer? No, I never met Fischer. I met Spassky. I played against Spassky, but I never met Fischer, unfortunately. Guest informant says, you think 10% of us speak German? Yeah, I would guess about 10% speak German. That was just a guess. Maybe not. Maybe fewer than 10% speak German in these broadcasts. Julian Belkin asks, will you ever analyze any of your own games? Well, I have done on these Hangouts, actually. How long did it take me to learn German? Well, I don't want to get into this German conversation, if you don't mind. But if you're interested in some of my German, then I sometimes do reports in German for Der Spiegel. So you can probably find some of my videos online speaking German if you want to. Arsan Baghdadi asks, why are you analyzing Capablanca games? Because they're wonderful games and I like Capablanca. That's why. Okay, listen, enough chit chat. I'm going to get into my main dish of the day, which is this remarkable game between Fischer and Petrosyan, played in the Candidates Tournament in 1959. Fischer didn't do very well in this Candidates Tournament, but then again, he was extremely young. He was, I think, 16 or 17, something like that. And he was outclassed by the players there, by the Soviet players. Tal won it, Keresh, next Petrosyan and Smyslov. So let's take a look at this. I mean, it is quite an extraordinary game. Just let me switch over boards. So 1 second. Just bear with me, folks, while I get this on the board. Here we go. So Fischer Petrosyan. It's interesting here that Petrosyan chooses the Caro-Kann. In fact, many of the Soviet players, well, Petrosyan and Keres, for example, and Smyslov, actually, they played the Caro-Kann against Fischer. They obviously felt that this was one of his weaknesses. And, well, I mean, Fischer did struggle against the Soviet players, and against Tal, he lost 4-0 in this tournament. The thing was, Fischer was very stubborn about his openings, so he persisted in playing the same opening line against this over and again. So let's have a look. I'm afraid, Arsalan Baghdadi, this is not the game where Fischer took on d7. Bishop h5 was played by Smyslov, but this was this game of Petrosyan's and others. So Fischer very much liked this kind of King's Indian setup. Now the most common move these days is Bishop d2 here, to castle queenside straight away. Fischer played g3. No, you're not too late. Bishop b4. So I can understand why Petrosyan was very eager to play into this, because basically he's able to get a very, to my eyes, a very pleasant King's Indian position with colors reversed. You can see that the contours of the King's Indian are absolutely clear. It's locked central pawn structure, but it means that Petrosyan here has already exchanged off these dark squared bishops, and that's can be a big advantage to black from a positional point of view. And yeah, it's interesting that Fischer was so dogmatic about playing this. He played queen e2 here. I mean, I wonder about playing h4 with the idea of putting the bishop on h3. Strikes me as a very logical move. But Fischer goes his own way. Queen e2, he wants to get this f-pawn going as quickly as possible. I just have a funny feeling that, sorry, a more mature Fischer would play h4 and bishop h3 just to improve that bishop. But anyway, so it's a moot point. And Petrosyan is eager to castle queenside. And basically, if the king castles on this side of the board, then you always have to be prepared for white playing this very crude attack. But this suits Petrosyan very well. He loved playing against the King's Indian. But Fischer was clearly very keen to go into this because he could sense that he was going to get counterplay on the queen side. And yeah, he loved playing the King's Indian. So Petrosyan wants to bolster his center like this. And b4, here we go. So this is where things really start to get very, very sharp, with pressure on both sides of the board. So clearly, if the queen side opens up, then it could be rather perilous for black's king. Board oscillating slightly, I think due to Hangout sharing message. Didn't know that. Board seems absolutely fine at this end. Sorry about that. Might be your computer, not mine. But everything is absolutely stable at this end. Okay, sorry, where was I? Fischer says that he thought here that f6 was probably the safest. Omkar Chakradeo, I think I just answered your question. If this is a reverse King's Indian defense, why did black castle long? Well, that's a very common move in the King's Indian. And I just pointed out that I'm just going to go, just for your benefit, Omkar, you obviously weren't keeping up. I'm going to repeat my point, but pay attention, please. If black castles kingside, then this very, very standard attack can take place. Of course, this is still very much in the balance because, of course, black can open up the queen side, but this is, it's a question of taste. So I'm gonna go back now and look at the game. Okay, here we go. So we're back to this position. As I said, Fischer thought that f6 was the most stable move here. But instead, Petrosyan, you know, these big guys, they are not afraid, and they play in a very principled way. So he thought, right, I'm taking a pawn. And here, this is very interesting. I mean, I'm looking at Fischer's notes in my 60 memorable games, and Fischer thinks that pawn takes pawn is the best move. And it is certainly extremely dangerous. I mean, Fischer just says correct is pawn takes pawn with advantage in all variations. Well, let's just take a look at this. Well, this certainly is extremely dangerous. And I think it's crucial that this knight can drive away the queen at some moment and get in e5 to release this bishop. Guest informant correctly says that g5 was played in an earlier game. Yeah, but that goes way back. So pawn takes pawn, Fischer likes very much. And I seem to have a problem, folks. Just 1 second, guys. I think I've managed to mess up completely here. Sorry. Oh, we're back again. Yeah, here we go. Sorry about that, folks. Pawn takes pawn. Fischer thinks is the best move. Anyway, listen, I can't dwell too long on that. Knight c4 played. It does look logical to take there anyway. And now Petrosyan takes the opportunity to play f6 to solidify the pawn structure. And Fischer takes and takes here. And this is interesting. Petrosyan basically just doesn't bother taking this pawn because he realizes that would give white play here. What he wants to do is take control of these squares. It's not worth taking that pawn yet. So he's going to play this. So guest informant has a copy of 16 memorable games in front of him. Rahul Chavhan says, is knight c4 a mistake? Well, yes, Fischer calls it out as a mistake, and it does seem like a mistake because basically you can see now that black is basically able to consolidate the position and get a bind on the queen side. And this is very interesting that Fischer says, I already knew I'd been outplayed. Petrosyan didn't even consider taking the pawn. Don't worry, Martin. We're only 20 moves into this game. You want to play knight? You want to play b5? Or I wouldn't touch b5. That doesn't look like very good to me at all, because then black's queen side will start creaking. Okay, here we go. Let's get back to the game. So you can see that this bishop really isn't taking part in the game. So Fischer has to rely on using these open files for his rooks on the queen side and on the king side as well. But this is interesting. Fischer simply doesn't mention these moves. Petrosyan played here, but over the next few moves, rook f8, as recommended by Ragozin, looks like a very sensible move. And it seems to me that black has very good control. Michael Olson says, Fischer like bishops, but the one on g2 looks ugly. It certainly is. It needs to come out here. Although it has to be remembered that even as Eddie Gufeld used to say, even the worst bishop is better than the best knight. Anyway, g6 played, h4. And now, well, once again, rook f8 is strong. And Fischer actually says, ordinarily one would expect Petrosyan to simplify in order to reach a winning endgame. And Fischer says that rook f8 is strong. He's absolutely right. You know, it seems to me that black just has an enormous positional advantage here with that beautiful knight on b5. Okay, 1 second. But Petrosyan played king b7. h5, and once again rook f8 is a very strong move because it just kills white's counterplay. This knight on b5 is superb, and this pawn isn't running away at all. You know, that pawn on b4 is permanently vulnerable. So yeah, very surprising that Petrosyan didn't play like this. Instead, he just took the pawn on b4. I mean, maybe he'd simply underestimated Fischer's play here. And suddenly it's not so clear and would indeed disagree, Michael. This is an amazing move, c4, because optically it just looks so weird. But white is exploiting this pin here so that black is unable to play pawn takes pawn en passant, and suddenly things are a little bit unclear because white has improved the connection along the second rank, and obviously that's dangerous for the king. Fischer says that knight d6 is safer, but actually I was looking at this earlier. This is still fine for white, and indeed black's king really looks a little bit exposed here. Petrosyan played in the correct way, actually. Knight c3. Why am I in my shoes says d3 has become weak now. Yes, that is a consequence of playing c4. However, it was certainly worth playing c4 and also open up the second rank. No doubt about that. And now Fischer says that he says, why didn't I play queen f6 immediately? And he thinks this is very dangerous for black. But in fact, I was looking at this with a computer earlier, and in fact, it's not that clear. It really isn't that clear at all. Fischer gives e5. And in fact, he completely overlooked this move. White cannot avoid an exchange of queens, and this is just winning for black because this pawn is just too dangerous. You can see the knight is perfectly positioned to just help the a pawn on its way. So white would have to play in a different way. I mean, it's tricky. My computer thinks that queen d8 is still okay, and bishop h3, and this is very double-edged. But it's queen f6 certainly isn't as strong as Fischer thought. But that, I'm only saying that with the benefit of a machine by my side. But certainly rook f1 is not so great. Now things got very hairy. We're about to enter the land of four queens. This is incredible. But it is extraordinary that Petrosyan allowed all this play with white's major pieces. Now, this is a stronger move, according to Ragozin. And now a3. And this does look absolutely terrifying, it has to be said. And watch out. That is equal, actually. Incredibly, because if here, check, here and here, and that'll be a draw because that's checkmate. And that allows that one again. And if we go back to this position, if king a5, then we can give a check to win the queen here. So I'm afraid Ragozin was wrong. But again, that's with the benefit of a machine at my side. Let me go back. That's a very long and involved variation. So this was played. And we're about to enter the land of four queens. And this is a very, very strange world we're entering here. Fischer says that knight e2 is a better move here, but let's just get into this position. I mean, this is such a bizarre situation because remarkably, even though there isn't that much material on the board, neither king is oh, I know this is going to sound ludicrous, but neither king is particularly threatened here, because this king is guarded by the queen and can very often run up the board. And the knight helps to protect some important squares as well. I think it's because basically the center is closed. And likewise with white's king, it's actually quite difficult to attack. With the bishop does a decent job of controlling this square here. So incredibly, you know, these queens last on the board for a few moves. Queen e1 apparently is a better move. Again, that's my machine saying that. Queen a7 gives white the better chances. Fischer thinks that queen h2 is the best move here. My machine, I think, thinks that g5 is the best move here, but this is fantastically complicated. Anyway, let's go back. Sorry, I'm just getting to the relevant position. So g4 and now queen f8 played by Fischer. I suspect that Fischer just was completely freaked out by these queens and just thought, I've got to exchange them off very, very quickly. Well, sorry, you didn't there. So he's looking to attack. Two queens too difficult. Yeah, this is dangerous. But that king, I mean, Petrosyan does a brilliant job here. And here we go, mate threatened. This looks absolutely terrifying. But black is able to defend. And after the queen exchange, then of course black's king is actually superbly placed because it is completely secure. The knight protects the king. There is certainly no danger from queen or bishop, and in the right circumstances, that king may be able to come in and attack that weak pawn on d3. Tim Worrell asks if he had a weakness, was it wild positions like this? I don't know, Tim, actually. You know, there are some positions he played extremely well. I mean, it's not clear to me which top player plays wild positions perfectly. You know, sometimes Fischer got it right. You know, I can think of games off the top of my head where Fischer found a way through tactics extremely well. I mean, one game that springs to mind is Fischer against Larsen, that fantastic winner in their candidates match, where that was so complicated. I mean, I think I will look at that at some point. But it's a brilliant game, and how Fischer negotiated those complications. I still look at that game and think it's an extraordinary game, actually. Antonis Tsenes asks, isn't the knight better now that queens are exchanged? Well, that knight looks pretty good to me. Yeah, it's really, really strong. Yeah, where have I got to around here? And Fischer thinks he should have just played g5 here. And black is not, but I don't think black is worse here at all. But Fischer now blundered. He played king here. And as he admitted, this was a complete oversight. He overlooked queen e4. And now black is better. He said, having overlooked Petrosyan's last move, I was somewhat shaken. Now, if pawn takes, let's just have a quick look at this. I mean, this is still very, very complicated. Knight takes and g5. Let's have a quick look at this, and basically that pawn will queen. Carsten Hansen says, Fischer slept, Larsen did the analysis. Larsen was fired as a chess second afterwards. Larsen had to read Tarzan aloud. Well, I mean, this, whether this was Larsen or Fischer or whoever, I don't think their adjournment analysis was very good. Certainly, Fischer, well, made a terrible oversight. But even before this, he obviously wasn't playing absolutely correctly. So anyway, this is the game. But what's curious is that in this position, Fischer obviously lost his nerve, and after Queen F2, he offered a draw, or rather, I mean, this is curious. Basically, Petrosyan played Queen H1, and Fischer now says, "I offered a draw," afraid that he wouldn't accept. Black certainly has the edge now. If he says if G5, then E4. Yeah, I mean, this looks incredibly dangerous for White because he has no chance to hit the king. But what I find bizarre is that Fischer offered a draw after Petrosyan's move. That's actually really poor etiquette. Now you can't get away with that. You must offer a draw before you make while you make your move, basically, or immediately after making your move. So that's a slightly strange thing. I think the rules were slightly unclear at that in those days, but now that would be really poor form. Yeah, Fischer got lucky here, basically. There we go. Petrosyan accepted the offer draw after having fought so hard for the draw. However, Petrosyan was obviously unprepared to readjust his frame of mind and start playing for a win. That's Fischer in 60 memorable games. I mean, it's an extraordinary game. Antonis Senes says, I think the strategic mistake is that he played on the king side instead of queen side after knight c7. Let me just go back and pick up on that here. I mean, this, for me, this was the mistake, actually. This is the move I don't like because it allows Black to stabilize the center. So, I mean, I think Fischer is right that he needs to do something different here, and that taking on e5 really destabilizes Black's position completely. And this is just fantastically unclear. I mean, Fischer called this absolutely correctly in my 60 memorable games. However, there is actually another move. My machine likes a takes b4 in this position, with the idea of now taking on e5, and thinks that this is the best way to play. Presumably after a takes b4, I mean, I'm not looking with the machine now, but after this, yeah, f6 isn't possible. You can't stabilize because of b5. And then you take on a7. Rahul Chavhan asks, did you play with Tigran Petrosyan? Do you know what? As a kid, I played in a simultaneous exhibition against him. That's the closest I got to playing against Petrosyan, actually. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 14 or 15 or something like that. And he played against a whole stack of incredibly strong juniors here in London. And he suffered. I don't think he really realized what he was involved in. And in some ways, I think it was a bit unfair because the players who were lined up against Petrosyan were just so ridiculously strong. I mean, I think I was probably about like 13, maybe 13 years old. And Petrosyan got whacked. He really did. I think he made a plus score. I mean, you know, he was playing 20 of us, 25 of us. I think he just about made a plus score, but it was very close. I think I beat him. I'm pretty sure I beat him. But I don't think I even have the score anymore. It might be stuffed away in a cupboard somewhere. I'm pretty sure I beat him, but it didn't feel like a big deal. It was only a symbol, and frankly, you know, halfway through, I almost felt sorry for him. Beautiful Melody asks, what do I think about the FIFA World Cup, particularly about England? I think England did really well for a very mediocre team. England did extremely well in the World Cup. That's what I think, and I was very glad that France won in the end. I think they were a very exciting team. There you go. Let me see what else we got. Anjanaya says, when you have a stable center, you should attack power play 2. Absolutely, Anjanaya. And that's the thing. Petrosyan was allowed to stabilize his center with f6, but Fischer could have destabilized. Fischer knew that. A Frenchman 31 says, yes. Yeah, they were Mbappe, Pogba, what a fantastic team. Griezmann, beautiful team, beautiful football. Why Man in My Shoes says, should I dare to dream? England 2020. No. Don't dare to dream. I think I'm going to leave it there, actually. It's been very entertaining, folks. Yes. Thank you, Tara K, for reminding me. I'm going to be in Biel next week, commentating on the tournament there. I'm looking forward to it very much. So the Biel Grandmaster Tournament starts on Sunday the 22nd of July. Yeah, Sunday the 22nd. I'll be commentating there with Anna Rudolph. We're doing live commentary. Magnus Carlsen is playing. Mamedyarov is playing. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is playing. Peter Svidler, David Navarra, and Nico Georgiadis as well. So watch out for that. You can watch on the official Biel Chess Festival site. It should be really entertaining. I think they've got an excellent mix of players, very exciting players who are not afraid to attack. And it'll be fascinating to see how Magnus Carlsen is looking after he's had a little break from chess, and yeah, he'll be gearing up for some serious practice. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. So, but also I want to say these Hangouts are only possible because of the patrons we have supporting the channel. We couldn't keep going without them. So if you're a patron, thank you very much. And if you would like to consider supporting this channel, then please do have a look at patreon.com PowerPlayChess. I'm going to write it in, guys. Patreon.com PowerPlayChess. And basically, if you're a patron, you get rewards. You get extra videos. You can see videos in advance without the adverts. There we go. That would appeal to some of you. And you just contribute on a monthly basis, as little or as much as you want. Basically, we need to grow the channel. Otherwise, we can't keep going. So please do consider contributing via Patreon and enjoy the rewards. There you are. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and watch out for more videos coming your way. I posted Spassky Chirich today, and you can have a look at that one. And there's going to be a little preview of Beal coming your way soon, which with some little entertaining nuggets from the players. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. See you soon.